A lot of you are familiar with the DNA Project and have been rocking with us for a while, but some of you aren't. A lot of you are faithful listeners of the podcast, but aren't familiar with some of the other work that we do. So I just want to take a quick moment to explain to you a little bit more of what we do. So you're getting married, or you have a friend, a cousin, a sister, somebody you know is getting married. Okay. You've booked your venue, caterers, photographer, all that good stuff. When it comes to live music, most people have no idea where to look. We have you covered. Picture this. During the ceremony, while guests are being seated, or while the bride's walking down the aisle. During the cocktail hour, while guests are just mingling and having a good time. Don't forget about dinner music. That's very important to set the mood while guests eat. And we definitely can't forget the party. Let's get the party started right now with the DNA Project. www.thednaproject.ca for more information.
Hello, bonjour, and wagwan, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the DNA airwaves. My name is Dariki. I'm here with two wonderful gentlemen, my co-host Anthony and our producer Matt. How you guys doing today?
Good, man. Happy to be here.
It's exciting day, exciting time. This is the first podcast, the first one to hit the interwebs. And I guess we should probably just tell people how this podcast came to be, right? I mean, it started off as a dream, and look where we are now.
Here we are. We've come so far.
Yeah.
Number one.
So let's give them a little bit of background, I guess, as to the DNA Project in general and how we kind of morphed this into a podcast.
It's a good starting place.
For sure.
So the DNA Project, for those who don't know, we are a full entertainment agency. We book talent for all sorts of events, weddings, corporate events, recording work, all that good stuff. So anything to do with music, live or recorded, we have a part of that. In the last 6 years, we've been fortunate. We've worked for hundreds of brides. We've worked with a couple hundred musicians at this point. Dozens of corporations. We've traveled across Canada performing. So we've made a lot of headway. We still have a long way to go as far as our plans, but anything to do with live music and music in general, we've had our hands on. And when Dariki and I, when we spoke, we came up with this concept to start the podcast.
Yeah. It was actually mine and Matt's friend and next door neighbor, Mike Wixon, who kind of, shout out to Mike from the pod plant, he kind of put the idea into my head, and I started trying to put the seed into your guys, both Matt and Anthony's head.
You're right, I lied.
I think a lot of people are like, we should do a podcast now. I don't think it's an exclusive thing. Not everybody pulls it off very well, but it's one of those like, we should buy a bar, but 2020.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess I had that similar, like everybody's getting, like we should start a podcast, and I struggled with kind of figuring out what we could really base the show around, and then when I had the conversation with you. You came up with the wonderful idea of kind of basing it basically on the brand, which is life, love, and music. And I guess, am I missing something?
No, that's it, man. Yeah, so we talked about music. We talked about just keeping it Canadian music or Canadian content as much as possible, and just giving Canadian talent, network, or music executives a voice. So anyone who's in the industry, we wanted to kind of hear their story, share ours with them, and you start to create some more platforms. We were fortunate enough to have the MPL, which you'll tell us a little bit about as well, to be able to have the space to facilitate this and make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, it was an obvious choice when we had decided to start recording. I had reached out to Matt about the idea, and he was obviously like, yeah, it's a great idea. And why not record it here at the MPL? So, I mean, I guess if we're going into a bit of history, Matt, maybe you want to tell people just basically the history of the MPL. And
I think in some ways it's kind of similar to DNA Project, where there were just a lot of things that we were interested in doing. And instead of picking one thing, or instead of maybe splitting it into different businesses, we just got this idea of making I cringe when I say this, a multimedia studio, because when people say that, it usually means that, okay, you have like a laptop in your basement, but it truly is. That was the goal, and I think as of quite recently, we really finished it.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful space.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's film shoots and audio post-production and Foley. To those of you that don't know, that's all the human sounds that are made in the film, like footsteps, doors opening, car doors, all that gets recreated here.
Yeah.
Voiceovers, podcasts, stuff like that. And personally for me, I think my ADHD really helped, because even things that I love get boring, and this way it's just always changing. There's every kind of creation here.
That's a good
and
point.
I find that very entertaining.
For sure.
From a personal perspective, it's just entertaining for me.
Yeah.
But
Variety, right?
variety is awesome, especially now that things are so limited.
Yeah.
We still get variety,
Right.
But we still get voiceovers, we still get animation and everything
Music,
else.
you know?
Oh, tons of music.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
That's incredible. So, yeah, I mean, that was basically two arms coming together. It made perfect sense to kind
Perfect
of
union.
come together and
Yeah.
start the podcast. I think all three of us have a wide range of experience and a wide range of different things. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I thought, who better than us to really just try and
Nobody.
start a
Maybe Bad Boy.
last minute. But yeah, I think what the goal is to really just kind of share conversations that I thought we were having off mic anyway, that would actually be really good to share, and then bring in other people from different parts of the entertainment industry in with, you know, two or three of us from time to time to have those similar conversations and share those with, you know, other Canadians in the industry or outside the industry that just want to hear a little bit more about. So I think...
Tell us what you think.
I got to stop doing that, because that's really just a way for me to think of something to say.
Yeah. Well, I think especially now, there's a lot to talk about with the constant barrage of changes to the industry that's happening. Like every time, and I think this applies to the three of us and other people listening, every time like a new standard is introduced and we try to get used to it, like, okay, YouTube plays. All right. That's weird, but okay.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get your YouTube system and it's like, oh, Adpocalypse, if you've heard of that, right? And it's like, okay, now the payment system is all different. Okay, now there's streaming. What the hell is streaming?
Right.
You know,
right.
well, we don't own your music, so we're just trying it out. So here's a penny or whatever, right? Or
Right.
0.00 of a penny, and that ends up being, that's just not it. That ends up not being enough of a source of income, and then people don't buy CDs, and then you have to sell merch. But why do I have to sell merch if I'm a musician? I'm not a shirt designer, and it's just going to keep on changing. And this Corona thing is probably going to change it even more.
Definitely.
Right? How are people making music? How are people sharing their music? How are they even getting noticed? Since everyone's content now is basically them sitting in the living room playing the guitar. Right?
Our live shows done, you know, like, I don't know. There's so many questions about that, but I think I got to stop doing that.
That's one thing about like what did people? Oh, the new normal.
Yeah.
Why did people say what? What about 1918? Everything went back to the new. Are we ever going to not wear masks again? Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. Why would we continue wearing them? Right? Why would we continue to not have live shows? I don't think anybody can live without live shows.
We need the music. It's in our DNA. Quick plug.
I see what you did
So
there.
that was beautiful. Thank you. I don't know how to go to the backstory beyond the podcast. That's what I was trying to get to.
Like how we
Or
met.
do we need to jump that far back right away? Like that's what
I
I'm
mean-
trying to think in my head. It doesn't feel natural.
To just go back.
Or maybe
to,
we
like,
should just go
how
back.
we kind of started as just like introduction, like meeting each other.
Well, yeah, because it's an introduction to the podcast, so we should probably talk about.
I guess I would
Some
have
of
to
the
say how we
backstory.
met, because I met you before you met me.
I guess I can't argue that one. I was
What?
looking for an
Because
angle.
I'm older than him. I'm older than him.
So you met him, but he wasn't born yet. He
Yeah,
wasn't
like-
aware.
He was a baby. I was aware his
So you had
existence was coming.
You had a higher awareness, so
I met you before you met me. Is the crazy thing.
you
to
saw
hear. I
me
like it.
first.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw him first. I guess that's. I saw you
At what
first.
age? 0?
Yeah,
One day,
his
yeah.
mom and my mom were really good. I think roommates at one point in time.
They were
as well.
roommates, yeah.
And and they lived actually together with his grandma for a bit too before my mom moved out. At least that's the story my mom tells me. But so or maybe it was Sonia. Our moms were friends from babies, like literal babies. I knew him from when he was a baby. And
you were how old?
I don't know, how old are you?
A lesser baby?
Oh, we were 2 years apart.
Yeah,
That's as
so
much
I'm
as we'll
two.
get into on
Right.
this podcast.
So we're 2 years apart. So there'd always be at least minimum 6 to 8 kids at any given time.
Yeah.
If those three came together,
I envy that.
we'd
And that was
spend a
me.
lot of time together.
Yeah, that was me with my cousins and then your siblings.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So-
when did you guys decide to start working together?
Well, we should ask when we decided to be friends first.
Well, I would imagine from birth your moms would just put you together, right? Or did you like have a conversation as kids, like, listen, should we be friends? Or
we're always going to be together. Or should we just be friends? Kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's kind of. I don't remember having a discussion about like being friends.
I may have thought about it.
with
Really?
No, I'm just.
Oh,
That's the thing with friends. I'm just thinking for myself. I have plenty of childhood friends who I would never work with.
Right.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
love
you're
them
right.
to
Okay,
death.
yeah, and you're absolutely
And now that I think about it, all of them, right? And it's just, at what point are you like, this is my, but also this, we could make money together. We could
I remember.
do great things. You remember that?
I remember the point.
I think I have a good idea, but I
I
want
was
you to tell the
14
story.
years old, I believe, give or take a year or two. We were walking from the park.
Which park? Shout out to
It was
park.
Templemead Park in
Shout out to
Hamilton.
Templemead.
Yeah, we had a lot of good
My whole
basketball
high
games
school.
there.
Oh my God.
So we were walking. I don't know if we finished playing basketball or what, but we were talking about moving to the big city, which is Toronto, to become, I'm going to say musicians, but really at that time it was rappers. That was kind of a
Yeah,
big dream
both
of
of you?
ours. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
we went.
That was my start for sure.
We
Just trying
actually
to-
rented, or I don't know if we rented, or we did. We rented a microphone and some recording equipment.
from Mountain Music.
It was from Mountain Music in Hamilton, and we got some CDs
Yeah, some
and
instrumental
some
CDs.
instrumentals, and that's how it began. Obviously, nothing came of that,
Mm-hmm.
but when you fast forward a few years, it's funny to look back because now we're working together in the space.
Well, I wouldn't say nothing came of that. Obviously,
Immediately.
that evolved into
So
whatever.
it planted the seed.
It
for
planted
sure.
the seed, yeah, but now looking back at where we are, that will always be a kind of defining moment,
Mm-hmm.
at least, that part of the relationship.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That was a good question because I never had thought about the concept of working with friends, and
Yeah.
it didn't really. To me, I never gave it any because I knew him and his work ethic and how disciplined and just the man that he became from like the
shucks.
hooligans we were before. He was one of the
Speak for
first guys
yourself.
to really get his shit together and really just kind of like separate himself from the nonsense and really focus on what was important. And when I saw that and I saw what he had started, I gravitated towards it because I was kind of doing some dumb stuff at the time and figured, you know what? If I keep aligning myself, actually, his stepdad always had a great quote, which was, "Show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are." And my,
That's so true.
and it does. And my friends at the time were a representation of who I was, but I didn't want that to be me. I wanted to be.
What? How old were you when you recognized this?
So he started. So I'd probably say late 20s.
Like when you're like, my friends, I should be friends with these people.
Right.
Kind
I
of
was
thing.
like, I don't think that I want to be this way anymore.
Yeah.
And I would rather just kind of align myself with people that I see doing good stuff. So I cut out a lot of idiots out of my life just because I didn't want to go down the path that some of them had already gone down. And
People don't seem to understand how important that is.
it took a
Yeah.
while. I'm not going to pretend that it came overnight. It took a long time for me to realize the people I were hanging around was really shaping my life and who I was becoming. And I didn't like it.
And I think part of you is like, I don't want to be a dick. Like I like whoever Jim,
The loyalty.
right?
Right.
Like why?
Right.
Like I can still be his friend and like be
Just
okay,
from a
but-
distance, you
Yeah.
know? Like,
Yeah.
it's not every day I'm calling.
Well, I'm asking that question because, well, Dariki, you and I work together as well, and I can say that in my whole adult life, there have been three, including you, three people who I'd be willing to partner up with and work with. And I've looked far and wide, right?
Right.
And that's why I'm like, that's really cool that you guys met at birth. I mean, you knew him before
Yeah,
you
true.
knew him, but that worked out like that. And I was just, and like you said, you did recognize that moment where you're like, okay, Anthony's actually not a dipshit.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stick with him.
Yeah.
Took a while to figure it out.
For you that you're not a dipshit, or
It
for
took
him
a while
that you're
for
not
him,
a dipshit?
clearly, apparently.
No, not that he was. Come on, that's not fair. But like, he was always doing better than I was, as far as just like not getting himself in horrible situations time and time again. He was. I don't want to say that he was like a good boy by any stretch.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at
He was a
that.
pretty good guy.
But
wasn't easy.
It was his work ethic that also kind of was like inspiring as well, because this guy works harder than 90% of the people, maybe
Takes one
95%
to
of the
know
people.
one.
I gotta pick up another 10% then, man.
No, 95. But it's
I appreciate that.
no, of course. But it's part of this whole journey. It wasn't even like I didn't give it much thought, because I knew where he wanted to go. I just wanted to help. That was pretty much it.
And you were a great supporter the whole time. I
Tried
mean,
to be.
I started off, I picked up bass a little later in life, or at least,
How old were you?
I picked up bass in my early 20s. I started
Wow,
working
that is
with
pretty late, and you're
yeah.
really good now.
Yeah, so I
Holy
started
shit.
working with a lot of different artists. I actually felt like I climbed the ranks. I don't want to say ranks, but I networked pretty well, and I met a lot of people and got a lot of good work, probably quicker than I should have. I wasn't afraid to embarrass myself, so a lot of times I said yes when I was definitely not ready mentally, at least. My playing probably wasn't where it could have been, or compared to at least some other people that I would compare myself to in the same circle. But I was okay with doing that, and a lot of opportunities came from playing. But I say that because the whole time Durkee supported me. He wasn't a part of the work directly at that point, but the support definitely helped me through with a lot of the decisions and aiming to be better. So I appreciate that.
Dope.
Well,
Just
that's a
keep
good
going.
push.
I had
Yeah.
no idea. I thought you've been playing since you were like 12.
Oh, well,
When you brought your bass in and just played around a little
Yeah,
bit, I was
yeah.
like, okay, clearly this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it's
a
him
lot
and my
of-
brother, just watching them jump.
And can I ask you like more origin DNA questions?
Sure, please.
So-
for sure.
As I see it right now, the DNA project is basically like a front and back line finished product, right? Whether you need players or backline, as in like amps or instruments or like anything to do with that, you guys basically cover. You're sort of multifaceted in the same way that we try to be, in that you
Exactly.
cover everything in that world. It couldn't have started like that, right? What did you guys do in the beginning?
That's a great
Yeah,
question.
that is a good question. It actually started off, my intention originally was just to have a video project. I thought about featuring Canadian talent in the same way that we want to do with this podcast, just by doing videos, live performances with different people. That was the original idea. We did one video, and I started getting a good amount of calls.
What kind of video?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I should break that down a little further. So the video that we did was a cover video. We did a Music Soul Child and Robert Glasper song. And I had intended to kind of just cover songs that weren't exactly mainstream, that just had that I really liked musically. But from that cover, we ended up getting calls for live performances. And that was kind of the birth of the DNA project as we now know it. It was just a few of us. So it was myself, a keyboard player, Daniel Cowens, a flute player, Jeff Kearns, and that was going to be that was the core of the band. From there, we would work with different drummers and such. And then once we started getting the calls, we started working with more and more musicians, and the networking continued that way. And then I started to see that was a real opportunity for us to facilitate more work. And I figured if we keep pushing it, the sky's the limit. So that's how we started.
And you guys do session music too, right?
We do session music as well. A lot of the players that we work with, of course, don't rely solely on live. So the session music is a big part of what we do as well.
For sure.
Yeah. It's a fun experience too for musicians
Very.
compared to always being on stage.
Exactly, yeah. And we've done some pretty cool projects. I mean, this year had shaped up to be one of the most fun years as far as just some different opportunities that have come up.
Yeah.
Just as far as traveling, We did a couple shows across Canada with a 20-piece band, so we've definitely scaled it up a lot from our, I'll say, humble
Roots,
beginnings. Yeah. But I actually want to backtrack on that because we were speaking about Diriki, how we started working together.
Yeah.
And I remember a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, when we did you helped out with some ideas to put shows together in Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
And from your position as helping with the formation of the shows, you were kind of our street guy. So you're hitting the streets, you're going to the university with flyers, you're talking with people. But I never forgot that when we grew up, you used to sing. We were back, it was at the church at the time.
Yeah.
And I never let that go. So when it came time to do these shows, I was like, well, if we're going to be doing a showcase with local talent, then Diriki's got to sing.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if we've ever talked off mic about that, but when you did that, my instant reaction was no, and I've always been that way. It was no. But because I never thought that I could actually sing as well. And he's been my closest friend. So your closest friend telling you to sing, it's just like, come on, And I've always had this like issue with
your closest friend who's a musician. If just some random friend was like, you should sing on stage,
True,
don't
right.
listen to them.
Right. But and that's kind of where my deciding is like, he's a musician, like, and I'm representing the company. I don't want to put the company like, this is the talent you're bringing. So, I mean, I struggle, and I had a real issue with like stage fright, like going on stage and singing in front of people, being that vulnerable. I had an idea that I could sing, but just going out and doing that to people and being that vulnerable was really weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
And, but when he said it, I don't know why, I just said fine. And every time he said it, I've said fine.
Never stopped.
And it's always just been a great experience for me, but not one I would have taken. Like if there was a flyer looking for singers for this community show, I would never sign up. I would never, ever, ever.
Sure, it was a massive show. To be honest with you, when you told me you're doing that, only because I knew that you haven't performed, you haven't done any of that. You're like, oh, I'm doing a Dre thing. I was like, that's cute.
But
what is
that
like,
going to be?
I'll come to the show.
That came later,
and
actually.
then
way later.
Oh, later.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the show that I'm actually referring to was 2018.
Yeah.
We did it was smaller scale for sure. So, I mean, we sold out the venue at about 150 people. So, I mean, even that as like a first time
That's
on
pretty
stage,
overwhelming still.
Right.
It's still, and you're playing with musicians that
Are professional.
pretty seasoned,
on
right?
a level,
Yeah. So one of my things is to always work with musicians that are better than myself. So I've been fortunate to surround myself with people who play at a higher level than myself. And then I threw Diriki into that.
Yeah. So poor amateur who's barely performed has to go on stage in front of 150 people and professional, good music, like really, really professional musicians. Was a little bit of a challenge not a little bit. It was a really, really big challenge. That very first time.
Well, you put the work into it. It's not like just a random one of those I put my heart and soul into it American Idol stories.
Yeah.
It just went up and it
yeah.
was great. No, you practiced.
practiced, yeah.
Practice and
Definitely
practice. And I saw you for the later show. You would come here and you would have the lines printed and you'd listen to it again and again and again and again. Record yourself.
Right.
It doesn't just come out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it's because being surrounded by professionals, it's hard to not want to be a professional yourself. And I don't know how, but I would just try my best to figure out. One, it's just keep practicing. Just keep singing the songs you're going to perform. And that was one of the scariest moments, but one of the best things I ever did was listen to this man. So after seeing how he is, he's pushing me. It's like I'll follow him wherever he goes, So I can't tell you how many times he's asked me to perform, but I've never said no. I don't think I've ever said no. Once.
Nope. But it's always important for me to work with people that I have a real relationship with.
Plus Drake was busy. So
Drake wasn't answering my calls, to be honest. But
you got the understudy.
never fear, Diriki's here.
Relax.
Once again, he said no, though. You said no to that one.
Did I?
You said no, and I said yeah. And you're like, no. And I was like, yeah.
I remember saying, maybe.
Yeah. It was a definite no.
Hard no.
It was a hard no. And it wasn't an easy sell trying to explain the scale of the show and the traveling and all of that. But I mean, once you said yeah, you jumped in. I mean, your no's weren't. It was the same day. It was a couple no's and then a yeah.
Right.
So, And you killed that show. A lot of people came out. If anyone missed it, we'll have to keep you posted on the next ones. But these shows went from
Whenever that
150.
happens.
What's that?
Whenever shows happen again.
Yeah. We're optimistic. But yeah, we took you from like 150 people to now we're selling out upwards close to 1,000 people at some of the shows. And I think the smallest one was probably 750.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the story in a nutshell of our working experience. You've also been instrumental with DNA day to day, and of course here at the MPL. So you are in the business, and we appreciate you.
Thanks. I mean, I appreciate
That
both
turned
of
into
you
a
as well.
speech, eh? That turned into a little Deriki moment.
Hey, no, I appreciate it because you never say anything good about me.
Was that your wedding toast that you just repeated?
No.
You know what? I didn't write the wedding toast down as well as I should have, so hopefully that made up for it, D.
No, it was a great best man speech. What are you talking about? I forgot that you were the best man at my wedding
Whoa,
until then.
that's
Until you
weird.
said wedding
I
toast.
still have this. I have the sticker, the thing you gave me.
You
the
gave
pin.
him a sticker?
I have a best man pin.
Oh, pin.
Yeah.
I got a lighter.
I look
and
at it
you got
every
a
morning.
Sticker?
I gave him shoes. I gave him all shoes to wear.
Oh man, you did.
Yeah,
You did.
everyone. I bought
Yeah.
all of them these like shoes to wear with their suits.
Were they nice shoes? Or
Oh,
were
they're
they
nice.
They were
They're
Lacoste.
like
They were
similar
nice
to the ones I'm
Lacoste
wearing. White sole,
Yeah, they were
comfortable. You couldn't ask for a better pair of shoes for a wedding.
Thanks. Yeah, they were. They were. I didn't know. You know, it's always hard to pick out a good, relevant wedding gift. You know what I mean? For your like groomsmen.
Yeah.
I gotten some cool ones, but I didn't know what to do, so they got shoes. I'm sure we're gonna cut this part out.
I don't think so. So let's talk about future plans. So we've explained who we are a little bit.
Sure.
We haven't. We have not explained. Matt, you didn't really tell us
Yeah.
much about yourself.
So why don't you
Why are
tell
you
the
here?
streets? Why are you here?
Like on Earth? Or
No, like what's your skill set? Is there some relevance?
Well, I started with playing drums.
You did. You're a
and-
musician too.
Yeah, and I'm not
No, it makes
sure if that was like an ADD thing or a rage thing or just, I think it was just really interesting. And it kind of calms my brain down. And then from there, played in bands and played in sessions and all that. And I just realized, going back to how tumultuous the industry is, I just realized I don't want to. It's not like I was offered and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to say no to this deal. But I didn't even want to pursue one too vehemently because it's just such a hard life.
Yeah.
And I think everybody in the room has come to that realization, saying, I want to work in music, but screw like being a day-to-day musician. Like that's
There
really
must
tough.
be another way.
Yeah, and plus this way I get to work on a ton of different music, not just my own.
True.
And then from there, it's still tumultuous. So it was just like, well, how else can we stay afloat?
Right.
Why don't we incorporate the film into it? And yeah, I specialize in the sound part of things, and I teach that at a college as well. And then we just put all that to work here. We get to meet all kinds of different people. It's fun. Like sometimes we work with kids and with pets, and sometimes we work with like death metal and sign language videos. And Barney was here once.
Wow.
Not Stinson, the dinosaur. And yeah, it's just all over the place. And that's what I like. I just like surrealism and strange things happening in my vicinity every day.
Nice. And it's, again, perfect fit. So you have your musical background and you are the producer extraordinaire. So it's amazing.
Yeah, it's weird how this all kind of organically came together.
We should talk about the future plans, no?
Yeah, let's
We
do
should
it.
tell them, what we have in store for future episodes, the type of guests that we will be bringing on.
So what are you doing in the future? What kind of episodes are you going to have? What are the plans for the DNA and for this podcast?
That was so weird. It was like an echo of my voice, but it was a little different.
I was going to cut through it.
I'm just messing.
Yeah, no, it's smart because he said it, and then you could just cut to that. That was-
We'll just keep it now so people can see the BTS of how this is
Hey,
made.
yeah, good point.
Sorry, what was your question?
What's in the future? What's in the future? What's in the future for the company, for you, musically? What do you think is going to happen with this Corona business? And if, let's say, that it died off in a year and you're back to business, what's the plan? What are your two different streams of plans? Corona plans, if this lasts for a few years, which it might, and no Corona plans. Where do you want to be in 2 years?
All right. Well, I mean, some of the things that we have planned are going to stay the same regardless. So we definitely want to keep providing work for musicians. One of our big plans is to have more and more people on some sort of full-time basis. So just creating more opportunities for musicians to work, even if it's outside of the music directly. That's a big plan of mine. We'll keep doing events. I mean, providing there's any events happening, we'll be there.
Yeah.
If there are not events, we're going to revisit that a little later. There's a lot happening digitally. There's a lot of recording work that's still going on. So there's still ways for us to thrive. But we're staying optimistic, as I mentioned, and looking forward to being back at the events and using music to entertain.
Yeah, and I think for the podcast, the direction of the podcast in the next 2 years is to really just bring engaging guests that range in the wide variety of tentacles that we have out there already in our industry and in the MPL's industry. Is just really bring intelligent people. They don't even have to be intelligent. Just interesting people. Really.
I mean, I would hope they're somewhat
Well,
intelligent.
that's to me.
They tend to be.
Maybe
I
you're
find that
right.
good musicians, they may be dicks,
but it's
they
not
can
even
be
just
smart
musicians,
people. Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah,
you could have like
true.
another film producer come in and talk about something, or even we spoke to the program director of Music in Memory, which is a wonderful, wonderful program regarding the connection between music and reawakening. I don't know how you describe it, but basically the connection between music and memory, and how music has allowed people that have, say, any type of mental illness, dementia, or Alzheimer's, maybe even Parkinson's, and how music can get them to reawaken their mind and almost re-engage them with society, where you literally see this one gentleman who's off on his own, doesn't want to be bothered. They put the headphones on him, and he instantly just comes to life. Like it's
amazing.
It's really amazing.
Yeah.
So like talking to people like that, anyone that has a connection with music, really, we want to talk to.
True. So it's the musicians, like you mentioned, we have some researchers, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Cool.
Woo.
No, yeah, that's a great question. I thought you might have had a follow-up question. 'Cause
Well,
I saw your eyes were thinking. So I was
No,
like,
I have a bunch. Yeah. Have you guys seen? There's all the Vice Explained shows, and one of them was about
Vox?
music. Yeah, why did they say Vice Vox?
Yeah.
Canadian publication that does cool modern things. They really explain that part well, why that might help, why music can help somebody with Alzheimer's and stuff. It's a very unique human thing where we actually process music through pretty much every part of our brain, right? There's an emotional process, there's a meter timing process, there's a contextual process, and that's why, well, at least that's the theory, that when you play music for somebody, it engages so many different parts of their brain, even if a few of them are injured or missing or
Still
whatnot.
fire up.
Yeah, and animals have a hard time with it because most animals, if they pick anything up, they pick up one thing. Like they found that there are a couple of parrots that can nod to the beat.
Right,
But
right.
chimps can't do it. Chimps can't predict. They can, like, if you clap, a chimp can like clap right
Mimic the
after
action,
you,
but not on
they
time.
can't be like, oh, there's another clap coming. They just can't predict that. So it's another human ability
interesting.
to predict the future and prepare for it. It just all wraps into one thing.
Music.
And
Yeah.
that's probably why music specifically is able to trigger
Yes,
that,
yes.
as opposed to someone just singing or talking. Do you know what I mean?
Not only that, people with stutters can often sing just fine.
Yes, I've
That's
seen
true.
That,
That
too,
is
yeah.
true.
Right. It completely circumvents certain parts of your communication and compensates with emotion and timing and timbre and all that.
Yeah,
It's very interesting how that works.
exactly. And so
Yeah.
when we got wind of that, we reached out to the program director, and there's other cool things that are related to music that if we think it's interesting and people might enjoy it the way we enjoy it, we're going to reach out and we want to share, those kind of stories or interviews with people. So
Yeah.
I think that's the direction we're going to go, is really just anything interesting within the realm of music I want to hear about, and I hope others do too.
I think so.
Especially in Canada in 2020, especially near Toronto in 2020 when there's so much good music coming out of here.
Exactly.
Lots, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
lots to talk about.
And I just don't think that a lot of, I hate the word urban. I'm never going to use that word, but just like, Black entertainers in general don't have a lot of avenues to go to really share their stories specifically, as far as this local Toronto scene. And I think a lot of struggling artists in the scene would love to have a little bit more voice, because if you're top tier, people are going to come and give you that voice. You know, people are going to ask you to come, whereas, you know, these other people are really trying to move up a level. I think I'm rambling, so we're probably going to cut this.
No, not at all.
No.
But just like people that want to share their story that's equally as interesting as a top tier person, you know, we want to give them the chance to share their story too, because I think that's important. And just kind of really focus on building a community of like-minded individuals. I think that's kind of where this came from. Is there's a lot of people like us, and every time we talk to a different artist, they're saying the same things that we've said privately, and there's no real way for everyone to kind of come together as one giant movement. And I hope that we can kind of start fostering a community that can really elevate Toronto's indie music scene in a R&B, soul, gospel area, you know, where our strengths lie.
I miss some modern soul music. It's been a while since that was really hitting the radio much.
Yeah.
A little bit of The Weeknd. I want more soul.
Yeah, it's really trappy now. Super trappy. And what's the grime? I think grime is making a huge wave. That UK grime.
You think in the US or in Canada more?
Both.
Really?
Like Drake's really trying to gravitate towards, in the last couple of his songs, I don't know, I listened to War, I don't know if you know that song, and he's got a real big tie with the UK with him producing Top Boy. So he's really got, and Drake's the kind of guy that's got his ear to the future all the time anyway. He's really listening to the new sounds and adapting before anybody really starts to make those moves. So when I see him gravitating towards it, and then New York artists are now using it, like French Montana, Pop Smoke, rest in peace. But some of the newer guys were really gravitating towards that UK grime type. It's really distinct. Like it's like trappy, but heavy bassy.
Yeah, it's interesting how Drake, I wouldn't say that Drake is like the quintessential trap artist, but when it comes to, and I know trap has been around for a while, but when it comes to trap, showing up in mainstream media, it really kind of started with Drake in many ways.
Well, Drake and Future had that collab CD too, right? And that just proves when he hears something and he thinks it's going to take off, he knows who to go to. He knows who's, you know,
and he can execute.
You're right. And he can end, which is important. Very, very important. Because he's the only guy that can do trap and then sing and then go and do like a Spanish song. Like I don't know if there's any other hip hop artist that's been as versatile as Drake ever.
And do comedy and act.
Right. Yeah, he's he's a multi.
Although he was pretty lazy with his acting, he was always sitting.
Hi-yo.
That's funny.
That's actually funny. But I'm shocked he hasn't done more. But I think he's probably just going to wait until music kind of becomes not irrelevant, but like less, like when he's like in his 40s or 50s and he doesn't want to be running around stage anymore. Maybe he'll go back to acting. But do you guys think he'll ever start acting more now, or would he wait? Or what would you do if you were him? You think now?
The Weeknd's even is acting.
Yeah.
The what?
The Weeknd's even acting.
Yeah, but
why would
Drake hasn't done anything besides
it's
SNL?
It's a little different when it's like Justin Timberlake, who's like, I also want to be an actor, and he has to work at it, and his first few movies kind of suck, and then he took like voice lessons to speak deeper and things like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
he used to listen to Timberlake in like 1998. It was like a Chihuahua talking, right? but with someone like Drake, who's completely trained. Someone like Drake who's completely trained in acting, it's for him. It's just like, all right, let me take a year off and do Fast and the Furious 12 or whatever, right? Yeah. Or maybe he'll surprise us and like do a Lady Gaga and just like do a really serious film,
right?
Or even 8 Mile. Who knew that Eminem can act, and who knew that he would only do it one time?
Yeah, that's all he needed to do, and it was a good movie considering he's not the best of actors, and like of all the music, like I couldn't see him doing much else besides playing himself.
What, acting?
Yeah. Eminem.
True, he did play himself, but it's really hard to play. It's hard to play. I don't know. For me, have you ever tried acting like on camera?
Yes.
It's ridiculous. You're like, I know how to say these words. I've said them a lot.
Yeah.
And you're like, how are you?
Yeah, that's funny.
It was actually interesting. We had a booking here the other day for the green screen, and because of the whole COVID situation, we had to have the actors on the screen separately. We did one guy, doing his role in front of the screen. Then we got the other guy. And the crazy thing is that it's just green, right? And just people staring at you. And they're like, okay, so you own a business and you're really good at what you do, but you are overwhelmed with the accounting part. And the actor just turned it on. Yeah. His eyebrows said, I'm confident, but I'm overworked. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, that's a skill for sure.
Yeah, and then he switched and he had to play like, okay, now you're relieved, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, he really looks, how can you just look relieved out of nowhere?
That's an interesting point because there's been actors where you think they're just kind of not really acting. Do you know what I mean? Like Guilfoyle from Silicon Valley. I don't know if have you seen Silicon Valley?
I have not, no.
I'm trying to think of another actor.
Anthony Hopkins.
Well, he's a brilliant actor, but when you see someone just acting like a dude, for example, and you're like, oh, anyone can play a dude, but then you see him in another role and you're like, oh, you're an actor for real. Right. Like you're not just pretending to be that guy because you can be that guy. Yeah. You're actually acting. It's I ruined it with Guilfoyle, but if you get the reference, he acts like this really like sad guy that's just like,
and you're like, I know that guy.
Yeah, it's like, you're just, anyone could be that guy, but then you see him in another role and you're like, oh shit, the range.
I hear you. Acting's crazy, and it's even crazier that there's
and green screen's even nuts because you have to act like you're in a place, but you're dressed up like an idiot. You got all these dots on you. Or
I remember reading when they were working on The Hobbit. Ian McKellen at one point, because that movie was hardcore with the green screen,
right?
And at one point, it was just him in a green environment with literally sticks with like a picture of Frodo's head, and he would just like, and he just started crying. He was like, "This isn't acting anymore."
Wow.
But
that's crazy.
I would argue that yes, it is. It's literally acting. Act like Frodo's there, buddy. That's your job. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
it is literally acting.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine how hard that is, but that's what they're trained to do, right?
Yeah.
Just theater actors, the interacting part.
Yeah, theater actors are, they emote more and they react to something in real time.
Yeah.
But when you're in front of a green screen and they go, okay, your mom just died and your dog is exploding.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, and they have to do it and they don't even have a visual for it or anything.
Yeah, that's
I appreciate that a lot.
You have to.
Yeah.
Same
and
thing
people
with
take it for granted.
Right? Vocalists are also actors. Mm-hmm. You can't always feel the way that you do in that song.
You have to turn it on, yeah.
To go from like a grenade to like Walking on the Moon or like a Treasure by Bruno Mars. Like, you can't just sing it the same way for all songs. You got to be mad at that bitch for a grenade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not only that, when you're in the studio and you're doing the same line 18 times, you're like, I don't care anymore. I don't care. I'm over it now.
I don't want it to
very
live.
therapeutic. Yeah, but you still have to deliver it that way.
That's true. To do it.
Yeah. But guys, seriously, I still want to hone into what other specifics do you have for the future?
Okay. So we have, in addition to the program director for the Music and Memory program, we also have a couple Grammy Award winners that we've done interviews with, some Juno Award nominees and winners that we've had some great conversations with. We hope to have comedians and some other titans of industry.
To those of you that don't know, American listeners, the Junos are our Grammys.
Or international listeners. Maybe we'll get a couple of African, South American listeners.
Yeah. Junos are the Canadian Grammys, and Drake has one, The Weeknd has one, Shawn Mendes has one.
Just to name a few.
Bieber has one, Celine Dion has one.
I mean, what other guests do you know that we have lined up for the people?
Yeah, I think that covers it, the award winners. We do have some researchers that will give more insight just on some of the other aspects of music and the mind, which I'm looking forward to as well. Those will be pretty cool. But yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, wide web of interests.
And in order to hear these interviews, people have to tune in to
the DNA airwaves.
There you go.
Boom, boom.
Good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's the DNA airwaves in a nutshell. And every week we hope to put out more interesting content that, everybody can enjoy.
I'm excited, man.
I'm beyond excited, and I hope you guys are too.
Yeah, I want to hear from all these different guests and musicians and producers and movers of the culture. Yeah.
Titans of the industry.
And more of us.
Yeah, and a lot more of us. So get used to us because we're not going anywhere. Okay, bye. No, I'm just kidding.
That would have been good.
think that's good.
That's it. To wrap
That's
it up.
it.
Let's literally wrap it up like that. As a podcaster, you know that great content is only half the battle. The other half is finding the right hosting platform to reach your audience. That's where Captivate comes in. With unlimited podcasts, advanced analytics, and personalized support, Captivate has everything you need to grow your audience and monetize your show. Join the thousands of successful podcasters just like us who trust Captivate for their hosting needs. Visit dnaairwaves.com/captivate today to start your free trial.